Hey guys, OGalbina here, bringing you guys yet another Pokemon Draft League analysis. Today we're going to be going over our team for the TGS. If you guys don't know what the TGS is, I made an announcement video on what this league is and how it's like kind of a passion project of mine, something I'm really excited to bring to the community. You should go check out that video, but essentially what it is going to be a showdown league that we're making a draft analysis for. The showdown upload required league with a lot of incredibly talented players, players much more talented than myself, in an attempt to bring back, you know, showdown draft league content and really show off what that side of the community has to offer, because there are some really high level players who've been playing this format since Generation 6, playing thousands of games because of the ease of access on showdown and the multitude of leagues and tournament scenes and all of these things, and kind of showcase what high level draft league may look like. Now, I consider myself a pretty good player, right? I don't think I'm bad at all, but I wouldn't consider myself a high level draft league player. So we're going to be fighting uphill. I am playing in the league, but we're going to be fighting uphill this season. I mean, our first 3 weeks in particular, we're playing some incredible coaches in the lineup. I'm really going to have to work hard, but I think we actually have a really awesome team and a team I'm really excited to use. Maybe some transactions I've had in mind, I've been talking with some friends about, but I'm really excited to use it. There's a lot of really cool mods on the team. So yeah, with that being said, if you guys do enjoy this draft analysis and are excited for the TGS season, go ahead and drop a like on the video as well as subscribe to the channel. We are on our way to 5,000 subs by the end of this year, and that starts today. I'm gonna need you to go ahead and hit that sub button. If you obviously if you do enjoy, you can always change your mind later too. So yeah, with that being said, we can jump into it. Now, some context going into the draft league. I was the 5th pick overall, so not great, or pretty solid, but not obviously the best. Above me, we also voted on all of these Pokemon too. So some Pokemon I didn't want to allow, something like Chien-Pao went 2nd overall to L5. Ryan ended up getting Dragapult. Fish tried Tera Gouging Fire, which will be really cool, and then Hab ended up grabbing Spectrier. And I was thinking, I was like, those are some great Pokemon, but what's left to me? Oh, the Speed Boost Blaziken. Now, I drafted Speed Boost Blaziken round 1. I know a lot of people are not big on Speed Boost Blaziken. I know it's a very hot topic of debate in the draft league community, and I actually plan on making a video on it here eventually when I end up getting more time and I don't have so many leagues starting up at the same time. But I personally do not think this Pokemon should be allowed. It was only allowed in this league because of the fact that this was a voting system, and we decided, hey, let's allow Blaziken, and it fell to me at 5th. So I mean, despite me not wanting to be allowed, of course I'm going to draft it. I think this Pokemon is nigh unguardable defensively. Physically, offensively, it's obviously incredibly strong. Especially offensively, it's very solid as well, and the main reason isn't super because of its stats, right? Like, I think it's 120, 110, something like that, but it's mostly because of the high base power of its moves. Close Combat, Flare Blitz, Earth Power, Stone Edge, or not Earth Power, Earthquake, sorry, Stone Edge, Overheat, and Fire Blast on the special side, Focus Blast to get Vacuum Wave, and obviously you can set up with moves like Swords Dance and Bulk Up as well, which alongside potential Protect to get our speed boost up makes this thing incredibly threatening. I don't think it's a great sweeper in this generation, just because the generation is so strong and fast and offensive, and Blaziken doesn't find many of those opportunities, but I think as a pure wall breaker, there's not much better in the game than Blaziken, in my opinion, and I think it's an absolutely busted Pokemon, so I'm hoping that it can maybe carry me a little bit, because like I said, we're kind of punching up in this league a little bit here, so we'll see. Now, I want to grab a good partner with Blaziken. Something that Blaziken really appreciates is, one, going to be free switches in to it, obviously via means of momentum, like U-turn, Volt Switch, Flip Turn, Baton Pass, moves like that, but also a way of breaking down its own checks, and one of those main checks is going to be bulky waters. Obviously Blaziken doesn't appreciate waters, so I end up grabbing Rillaboom. Now, Rillaboom I think is a great partner for the aforementioned reasons. It really smashes through bulky waters, and U-turns, gets Blaziken in all the time, and knocks off items, it whittles down opposing teams. But I also love the grassy terrain aspect, not necessarily because it makes Blaziken live Earthquake, because it's still not doing so well, but I love the passive recovery that it offers, with moves like Flare Blitz, holding a Life Orb, Rocky Helmet's potentially coming out. Blaziken takes a lot of chip damage throughout a battle, so I really like having Rillaboom as an option to keep it up and healthy with grassy terrain active on the field. Rillaboom is obviously very threatening on itself, whether it be Swords Dance variants, Choice Band variants. I love Assault Vest Rillaboom. It's a great special sponge and U-turn pivot. It can obviously knock off items. It gets ground and fighting coverage as well. Really strong Pokemon. Struggles with flyers potentially, but still very solid overall. Now, going into round number 3, I really just wanted to try this mod, man. It fits well with the team in the sense that it grabs great momentum and bullies waters. It loves grassy terrain, and it's a really, really strong Pokemon. And also a Pokemon with more priority on the team, and that is going to be Raging Bolt. And this is going to be our Tera captain. Now, in this league, we are doing free Tera previews, so my Raging Bolt can turn into any typing on the weekly, whether that be water, fairy, ground, whatever we decide it ends up wanting to be. Raging Bolt can run that. Our opponent will know that going into the battle, though, what typing we are once we, get to the team preview screen. But regardless, it's an incredible Tera captain. I think it really loves the grassy terrain, obviously keeping it healthy, weakening earthquakes Tera, which there are definitely instances in which we will want to hold off on our Tera. So I really like that aspect of Raging Bolt. Getting the extra coverage move from Tera is going to be great. It can also run Grassy Seed sets on Calm Mind variants to, really boost up a lot of its special attack and special defense and defense and things like that, which can obviously be really good. It's just an incredibly strong Pokemon, grabs momentums, bullies waters, bullies flying types for Rillaboom, forms a great Volt Turn core with Rillaboom, especially considering the fact that we can Tera into a typing that bullies grounds anyway, so we're kind of having uncontested Volt switches. I think it actually covers the team really well, and it's also a faster Pokemon than you think. Base 75 isn't like blazingly fast, obviously, and we kind of lack immediate speed right now, and trust me, that's something that we'll address a little bit later on, but still a very, very strong Pokemon nonetheless. Then I need to get my bulky water, I need to get my fairy. I'm kind of spending a lot of points here at the top end on a lot of really fun offense that I wanted to try, but 2 fits really well. But the defensive aspect of my team is lacking in a bulky water and a fairy, so I ended up grabbing Primarina next. It was pretty cheap here at 11 points. Again, more momentum with Flip Turn. Really appreciates Rillaboom setting up the terrain and keeping it passively healthy. But not only is it a great defensive pivot, it has like the best defensive typing in the game in water and fairy, right? One of the reasons I love Ozzy so much this gen, but also it's very, very strong. Specs Brim does not have counterplay very often. It's going to be an incredibly, incredibly powerful Pokemon into a ton of teams. It can also Calm Mind and set up and win games potentially. Just again, a very, very solid Pokemon. Fits a lot of the check marches that you need in this team thus far. And yeah, now up to this point, very, very slow initially. We have Blaziken that can speed boost. We have lots of priority in Rillaboom, Raging Bolt, and I guess technically Prim with Aqua Jet, but the immediate speed is lacking. It's a lot of makeshift ways. So I wanted to grab something that was 115 plus, pretty darn fast up there, really forcing opponents to think twice about their potential speed tiers and the Pokemon they're bringing against me. And against my better judgment, potentially, we'll see, I drafted our mascot in Roaring Mid. I mean Moon. Roaring Moon, that's his name. He's not going to be in this season, but in general, my general consensus of Moon, at least when I used him pre-DLCs, was that he was very mediocre without Tera. I think with Tera, he's very broken. He's not allowed to Tera in this league, but without Tera, I think he's very mediocre. Getting Knockoff was a big, big help to him. Knockoff and Scale Shot is obviously a really cool combination. You get EQ, which is somewhat hampered by Rillaboom, but it's something that we can work around. It's a great Dragon Dance Sweeper. I think it functions best as a U-turn pivot and a Pokemon that gets in and out, breaks with a band, has great speed control with a Scarf, but those booster energy sets are definitely there and definitely very viable. This Pokemon can be incredibly bulky when you need it to as well, with reliable recovery and roost. So I don't think Roaring Moon, I think I might be giving it a little bit too much flack, and it really does hit a lot of check markers for the team, obviously in the immediate speed. More momentum. Every single Pokemon on our team can Volt Turn right now, which is pretty darn funny. Gives another immediate setup win con, which really it was only Bolt, Rillaboom. I guess every Pokemon on our team can also set up and win. I guess I'm kind of crazy and capping, but also gives me a Dark type. I didn't have an answer to Psychic type Pokemon up to this point, so that's obviously going to be nice. Now, another problem you're probably seeing with the team. There's no ground, and there's no hazards. So what does that mean? It means it's time to grab a ground. Now, again, we're doubling up on another typing here like we did with Moon and Bolt, but just like with Moon and Bolt, I figure that Bolt's going to be tearing out of its typing very often. Same thing with this electric type right here in Sandy Shocks, and I think this is probably the best ground right now, in my opinion, to get alongside Rillaboom, considering the Nidos are not available. Because one, our main stab and Earth Power is not going to be hampered by the grassy terrain, but two, in particular on this team, I love the Spike spike stacking option that it gives me. With a booster speed, we can pretty much always get up a stealth rock and a spike, or potentially rocks and some damage off for a thunder wave, or potentially 2 spikes, depending. It's probably going to be rock and a spike if we're running both of them, obviously. But on top of that, this is going to give us a ground type. This is going to be something else that's very strong and threatening. It fits a nice little speed tier gap for us, in, you know, Blaziken / Rillaboom, in between that and Roaring Moons, you know, between 100 and 110. Booster speed is an option, but we also go with booster special attack. It's a very strong Pokemon. Electric Ground is a good stab combination and can hit a lot of teams potentially very hard, if we play our cards right. So again, I think it's a very solid Pokemon nonetheless, and it's going to do a lot of damage potentially to the other opposing teams. And setting up hazards is really big for a team like this. Blaziken is usually a spike away from really doing a ton of damage. Rillaboom baits knockoffs into flying types that typically would hold boots, and then we can get Rocks Chip. Raging Bull is really going to appreciate spikes and rocks, so we can Thunderclap and get priority, you know, electric moves off. A ton of things. Roaring Moon's going to appreciate the spikes. We also knock off spam with Roaring Moon. So I think our team is actually in a very good and prime position to spam knockoff and get a lot of hazard chip on opposing Pokemon and put our team in a pretty darn good spot, right? Then next up, again, we're kind of getting to the point where we're getting a little bit lower on points because of how top heavy we went. Blaziken and Tera Raging Bolt were not cheap, and I ended up grabbing Bronzong here next. I think it's a steel type that I'm really comfortable with using, despite being a little bit more passive. It is off the ground, so it's not weak to ground, which is great. There's a lot of pressure on our team, in particular Rillaboom, to ground type attacks, so our steel type not being weak and actually checking most grounds is going to be really, really solid. I really like that aspect. It's an incredibly reliable rocker, which now gives us 2 stealth rocking Pokemon, which I really, really like that aspect. And again, it's just good catch-all check to a ton of things. We also did not have a conventional fairy resist up to this point. We actually did not have a fairy resist at all. So getting a fairy resistant Bronzong was paramount and incredibly important to me. I'm really glad this thing ended up falling. I wanted Metagross originally, but that was too good to be true, and there were some teams after me that really, really could have appreciated Sandy Shock, so figured Sandy Shocks was not replaceable. Metagross was, with Bronzong, and we ended up getting Bronzong here, which is obviously going to be clutch. Now, we do get 2 Terramons in this league, potentially. We have up to 30 Tera points that we can spend. Raging Bolt put us up to 23, which meant I could get another low-tier Terramon. But really, I was kind of just looking at low-tier Terramons I could grab that also offered things to the team, and that's going to be Hisuian Quillfish right here. Now, do I think I'm going to Tera Hisuian Quillfish very often? I don't think I'm going to, no. But what I do think I will do is bring it very often as a Intimon, a bulkier Dark type to take some pressure off of Moon defensively, and another Spiker. If I can't bring Spike Shocks, I think that Spike's Quillfish is an incredible Spike setter. And there probably may be a matchup where I could run like an Eviolite Swords Dance set, maybe an Eviolite Rain Dance set with Tera, potentially try and win. I know Seabad used it really well in the PPLs, or the SPL, so maybe I could end up using it well here again too. Who knows? But again, definitely a fun Pokemon, definitely very, very solid. Then lastly, if you look at my team, you'll notice I have no removal, and I don't have a fire type, and you might be thinking, oh dude, it's Torkoal time. It's not. I don't have enough points. I end up grabbing Colossal here. Colossal does give me some more things. It gives me another Rocker, another Spiker, it gives me Spin, it gives me another Fairy Resist. So those things are all very, very good and well for Colossal. Now, I will say going into this, I am very, very heavily looking at transactions on picking up Torkoal, and that would involve dropping some of these Pokemon, in particular Colossal. I think this team's one big bane is that I love Sun, and I don't have Sun because of the amount of points I spend at the top, and maybe potentially overpricing on my end for some of the things at the top, but we'll see. I'm going to try and work into that, but until then, Colossal will do the job. It does give me the option of Rapid Spinning, which I think is a very nice thing. And again, it's another Fairy Resist, which is always a very nice thing, so we'll definitely take those. But that is going to be our team going into week 1 of the TGS. We are playing against High Jump Sean in week 1 next week on Thursday. You'll see that battle go up. And again, what I really, really want you all to do so much, if you lasted this far, I can tell you're, in it for the long haul, you're excited for the season because you watched the whole draft analysis. Please go to every single one of these coaches in the description and please drop a sub on their channels. I'm really going to plug them a ton this season. This is stepping out of the comfort zone for a lot of these guys. And I think it's awesome that they're willing to take take a leap and try something new in order to potentially grow the scene and put their own content out there and put their own, you know, battling prowess and stuff like that in the line and show everybody off, or show themselves off to everybody. So I really appreciate if you went and dropped a sub to everybody. Go watch their draft analysis. Everybody should be putting one up today. I think L5's is him just literally shitting on everybody's team, which is very funny. So that would be a fun one to go watch, obviously. But there's some great ones. There's some familiar faces too. Guys like Tera, Aster, A12. They've all been playing Wi-Fi for a little bit, and there's some great new players that you might not know. Rai, King Alpha, not new as in they haven't played, but new as in due to the YouTube scene. Rai, King L5, Fist, High Jump Sean, Habita, JCM, Zooch, and Burger. I think I mentioned A12 earlier. You probably know A12, and I think Fist has been doing some Wi-Fi. But again, I'm rambling. Please go check them all out. Also, drop a like and a sub here if you're new. I appreciate it a ton. We typically do a lot of Wi-Fi content on the channel, but I play in a lot of Showdown leagues, and I really want to highlight that side of the community. And hopefully this is something I can grow and expand and maybe get some more players next time. Maybe we'll do a 16-man roster later on in the year. But yeah, with that being said, thank you guys so much for you know, watching and showing some interest in this new league. And I'll see you guys next time. Later.